welcome to the broadcast, my dears. London is abuzz with excitement on this eve of the coronation of King Charles III. This majestic, magical moment, the first coronation in 70 years. How absolutely remarkable. And what a remarkable moment this morning for the well-wishers who had been camping and waiting outside Buckingham Palace and on the Mall to be greeted by His Majesty the King. Yes, he met with well-wishers today, shaking hands, speaking with them, and the crowd had the extra thrill, the triple whammy of being joined by the Prince and Princess of Wales. How absolutely splendid. For these characters, these eccentric characters from every corner of the globe, I'm sure you've seen them, lining up in their thousands, not just for hours, but for days they've been camping out there. I mean, not in a month of Sundays would you catch me doing that, my dear. And they seem to enjoy it, so, good for them, my dear. But days in a row with how are they doing their bodily functions? How are they doing their ablutions? All these kind of boggles my mind. I don't even want to think about it. I wouldn't want to shake their hands. This is a time for gloves. Why do they not bring back gloves? What is wrong with a royal hand in a glove? Please, my dears, I hope they wash their hands before going home. Anyway, I digress. Wonderful scenes though, wonderful sights, and they also got a glimpse of the royal family earlier in the day when they were making their way to the rehearsals at Westminster Abbey, so they got some nice flashes and some glimpses of royalty. But it is absolutely non-stop for the king today. He has diplomatic appointments, and he was joined by other working royals at a special lunch for prime ministers and governors general at the palace. The Princess of Wales was absolutely immaculate in white, and she mingled effortlessly with foreign leaders. The king is also attending a Commonwealth heads and government leaders meeting at Marlborough House. Foreign leaders and representatives have been arriving from all corners of the globe, including poor Jilly Biden, who I actually rather enjoyed her pink outfit, but her umbrella went for a tumble, oh dear. However, in the midst of royalty and foreign dignitaries, a lone aircraft was seen arriving at Farnborough, which is the closest airport to Windsor Castle. A private jet flying in from California. So you can imagine what the whispers are. It's unconfirmed, but the reports are that it contains Henry. Yes, on private jet. Yes, Henry, founder of Travelist, who are going to tell you exactly what you need to do to make your life very green and make your travel extremely economical. Flying in for a reported 1 day, less than a day, overnight, to watch his father crowned, the father that he has besmirched for several years, and then reportedly to fly back to Montecito. Yes. And he was taking, I believe earlier, was it this year? He took an economy flight somewhere, so it can be done. Why does it need to be private? Why does it need to be gas guzzling? And in addition to that, it has also been announced that a beautiful creature by the name of Meg will be joining the royal procession and pulling the state coach. Meet Meg! Isn't she a delight? Yes, Meg is one of 8 Windsor Greys who will pull the state coach in the procession. Isn't she darling? And she may even proceed past a pair of lookalikes that were spotted in the crowd. How delicious. Yes, for those of you that love horses, just like the late Eliza Beth did. Yes, these are Icon, Shadow, Milford Haven, Newark, Echo, Knightsbridge, Tyrone, and Meg. Giddy up, Meg, dear. Don't be troublesome, or I have to crack the whip. Whip, crack away, whip, crack away. Yes, we'll be doing one of those, won't we? Yee-haw! Come on, Meg. Get going. Get going. Well, it is very exciting seeing everything come together, isn't it, my dears? And if I am able to broadcast to you tomorrow, and I think there's a fairly good chance that I will, but I'm not promising, but if I do, I will try not to mention two people. One of those is the Duchess of Sussex. The other is the late Diana Francis, simply because I want to take the time today just to say for one moment, on behalf of lots of you, I know that she remains in our prayers. She remains a queen of all our hearts. And what can you do? What can you say? We are where we are today. We have to accept and embrace it. And tomorrow must be a day of joy. So if at all possible, I think we should do our remembrances and perhaps light a candle for the memory of Diana Francis. Diana, the late Princess of Wales, today, you are remembered and loved, and your loyal son, the Prince of Wales, will do you very proud tomorrow and for the rest of his life. And we see you reflected in his eyes and his smile and his good character. Yes, we do. Thank you, Diana. Oh dear. Yes, so they are two very different characters that I possibly will not be mentioning tomorrow. But you never know what people are going to pull out of the hat, do you? One thing that I found rather exciting when they were showing little snippets of what's going on behind the scenes was a glimpse of Ermine. Yes, a glimpse of Ermine. I mean, people are wondering about tiaras and gems and aristocrats and all kind of things, but everybody thought Ermine was out the picture. Well, I saw a glimpse of Ermine, my dear. I think it's going to be sumptuous tomorrow. And you know what? I've looked at some of the coronation footage for Elizabeth many times, and I told you I was a bit disappointed with the new screen because it isn't quite so metallic and shimmery. Well, when you watch it back, it looks a bit shabby. It does look a little bit shabby compared to the solid structure of the new screen. So, well, horses for courses. Out with the old, in with the new. As I say, we have to embrace the new. And when you can see all the rich colours and the sumptuous design of some of the goings on behind the scenes, I think we might be in safe hands. I think we might be in safe hands, my dear. Also, I found on British Pathé, the channel, the coronation of King George VI. And I don't think I've seen that before. I don't think I even realised that that was captured on camera, because you always think of the late Elizabeth's coronation as the first ever broadcasted to the world, I believe. But it was captured, and I sat down and watched it. I'll link it in the description box below for those of you who might be curious. I should also mention before we progress that we're just going to have a bit of a chit-chat, then a tip jar corner, for those of you that like tip jar corner, if you want to stay around for that. And also, I am wearing rainbow-coloured jemmies today, but I just want to mention before anyone puts anything in the comments about it, it's nothing to do with the letters community, okay? I have no association or affiliation with the letters community at all that LGBTQ, that ridiculousness. Back to royal matters, and the royal family social media published a photo that is rather handy, so I thought I'd share it with you, but it comes from them, and I'm basically going to read off what it tells us, because I thought it would be nice for those of you who are watching the coronation just to get a glimpse into the strategy of where the various chairs are placed. It's quite interesting to know what's going on logistically. Chair number 1 that we see in the centre there is the coronation chair, also known as St Edward's chair or King Edward's chair. They all have 6,000 names, don't they, all these bits and bobs. Yeah, so that is the centrepiece and has been the centrepiece for over 700 years. And by the way, King Charles is the 40th sovereign, I believe, to be crowned at Westminster Abbey. There's been more monarchs than that, but he was the 40th to be crowned at that particular location. Quite astounding, isn't it? This is where he will be anointed in the most sacred part of the ceremony. It is where he will receive his regalia and where he will be crowned. So that is the most important chair. But at number 2 there, you can see the chairs of estate. And that is where most of the action will happen throughout the ceremony and where Queen Camilla is to be crowned. At number 3 are the throne chairs, or the chairs of state. And this is where the king will receive homage from the Archbishop of Canterbury and Prince William. A naughty story from The Spectator, which is a reputable rag, let's face it. It's fairly reputable. They can be a bit sensationalist, I find. But they have writers of note, and they do have good connections. One of those writers is Cara Kennedy, and I don't know much about her apart from the fact that she's Welsh. But she published a story quoting sources, and some of you might have heard this whisper already, but I thought it was worth repeating here. And before I progress, we will be mentioning the Duchess of Sussex and the word evil, and I want to give you a certain freedom in the comment section, but my comment section, I prefer the atmosphere here. I don't care about other platforms or channels. I like it to be playful rather than spiteful and downright nasty. I don't like coming across those kind of places where it's just very nasty. So even though we are using the word evil in relation to this story, please, I do ask you respectfully to keep any comments about this respectful and not totally hateful, because I'm not accusing anyone of being evil, and I certainly don't hate anyone, including the Duchess of Sussex. So I want to make that very clear. Even if it's boring, I don't care. That is what I insist upon in my playground. Okay, so thank you, my dears. I shall read you the extract. According to my source, says Cara Kennedy, the Queen saw through Meghan Markle and remarked that she was evil during a drinks reception at a dinner that the late monarch hosted at Balmoral in August last year. So not long before she croaked and not long after the platty-jubes. Everybody's eyebrows hit the ceiling, this source told Cara Kennedy. It was out of character for the Queen to use such a word from the most forgiving woman on earth. At the drinks before the dinner, a small group were talking to the monarch, and she explained that Harry meeting Meghan had become a complete catastrophe and described her as evil. By this point, we all knew that the Queen's health was in decline and she had months left. She seemed regretful about how things had panned out. Although I want to cover this because it is a story and it is a valid claim, or it is a claim. Whether it is valid or true or not, I don't know. And the late monarch here certainly isn't here to rebuff it, and this reporter hasn't named their source. So I do urge caution on whether to just start repeating it as fact. This is what I don't like when we report on these rumours. A rumour is a rumour. Okay, so we must bear that in mind. But I am reporting it because it is coming from a fairly reputable source, and it has been reported a lot in the press that this conversation might have taken place, and that is really quite interesting to hear that the late Elizabeth felt moved enough on the matter and confident enough to cast such an aspersion and use such a word, evil. You can make up your own minds whether or not you believe this story, whether you believe the reporter, Cara Kennedy, or whether you believe her source, who might have been confecting, exaggerating, misremembering, or telling the truth. I saw a photograph of another beautiful sceptre, not as beautiful as the sovereign's sceptre with cross, which I just cannot wait to see tomorrow. But another beautiful sceptre. This will be carried by the Lord Mayor of London, who will be carrying this 600-year-old sceptre called the Crystal Sceptre. Well, I'll give that best name. The Crystal Sceptre. Oh, yes, please, my dear. It was the gift of King Henry V to the City of London after the victory at Agincourt. So before we progress to Tip Jar Corner, I possibly won't see you again before the coronation. I know that so many of you all around the globe, various time zones, are getting excited. You'll be waking up. I think it's rather exciting and cosy for you that have to get up in the early hours, because you're going to have a sort of midnight feast affair and, sleep it off the next day, my dear. But, have an exciting moment and absorb yourself. And I just hope that you really enjoy it. I hope it goes safely, smoothly and beautifully. I really do have very high hopes for it. Especially hearing so many whispers about how Charles has had a deep personal involvement with it, and I think he is most certainly a man of taste, of good taste. I really do think that he is, and also one that appreciates arts and culture and theatre. He loves the theatre. So I really don't think we are going to be disappointed. We'll see what the Princess of Wales is wearing. How exciting. And remember, if you want to prepare a bit, you can look through the order of service, the liturgy, which is online. You can listen to Zadok the priest to get you in the mood. That's certainly going to be a big moment for me during the ceremony. I love a bit of old Zadok, so looking forward to that. Looking forward to so much, and I can't wait to savour it and then chat about it with you either afterwards or in the following days. But if I can come in tomorrow, I will come in tomorrow, and I'll be thinking of you, my foodies. So enjoy, my dears. Whew! Welcome to Tip Jar Corner, everybody, and thank you for sticking around for it. And thank you to anybody who has sent a treat in my tip jar, where I add those treats to my own funds. I want to make that very clear. It is mainly my own funds, but your treats do help me along. And they also help me decorate the scene for my broadcasts. As I've said twice now, I made 19 or 20 broadcasts last month, which I think was a record in a month. And I do like to try and mix things up on every broadcast and bring you a new jewel or gemmy trinket from the charity shop or the vintage fair. I'm getting them all over the place now, my dear. To be honest, I've had so many gemmies over the past week or two that I've been sourcing all over the place, running around the charity shops and vintage fairs. I'm trying to keep up with the broadcast, my dear, so I can show you a new stone, a new fascination, a new thing. And so I'll show just a few of them to you today. But yes, I really have to keep. I'm going to show you how I store them in a future broadcast, because they are piling up at the moment. I actually store them not beautifully but practically. But they are looking, all my brooches are building up rapidly, and I don't know if there's anybody on earth that's got as many headbands as me. I have more coming through every week, but it's all good fun. And also it gives me some fun in dressing up, because I enjoy the dress up element and also the make do and mend element, and being able to redonate back to charity shops when they've come to the end of their purpose here. So it has that nice sort of very Carolean cycle to it. Very worthy, my dear. As I skipped down the road earlier today, someone handed me this. They were being handed out by a few people. New Testament King Charles Coronation Bible. Yeah, I didn't know they were doing that. I'm presuming they're doing it up and down the country. Yes, in the royal blue, on the theme, on the brand. So that was a nice little keepsake. And I told you I would show you another little trinket. Well, this is one of some of them they call roundels, and some of them they call decorations, I think. Similar to my throne, this is the royal orb. Unfortunately, they didn't do one of the sceptre that I love so much, as far as I could see. But this one was one of the royal orb, which I thought was rather fun. 3 new pairs of gloves. And I'll start with the most delicate and interesting, which is these clear ones. Well, they're opaque actually, aren't they? But you know what I mean, dear. I don't know what you call them. I don't know if it's not really lace, almost like a nylon affair, but very delicate vintage gloves. I'm presuming they're from the 50s or even earlier, but I thought they might come in handy here and there. And they are made by a company, what does it say? Cold Proof, P-R-U-F-E. And very grand. Empire made, it says inside. Size 7, so an echo of the British Empire, which we loved so much. Come back, British Empire! Everybody's jumping ship. Everybody hates old Blighty now, even though we're the best thing since sliced bread, honestly. Well, phooey to them, my dear. These are lovely, aren't they? Very delicate. I can maybe show you things while I'm wearing my special vintage gloves. These are also vintage. These silver glitter gloves. I thought they were nice and spangly and might come in handy for something or other. They fit quite well, and they might be more suitable than these grey gloves, because I was quite excited about these, because they're not as invisible as these black gloves. They're not as blatant and interfering as bright white gloves. So I thought they might come in handy. But I tried them on before a broadcast the other day, and it was like the Tin Man's hand, robot hand coming out. So I'll find some use for them, and I will wear them at one point with the right outfit. But you don't really want Tin Man hand coming out of nowhere, do you? So I have to think about that. These were from Dents. Quite a lot of my gloves are from Dents, which are very reasonable and have the royal warrant, and they used to make some of Queen Elizabeth's gloves and gloves for the members of the royal family. Yes, so they have quite a good website actually with some cheap finds. I think I ordered this from the official Royal Collection website. It was weeks ago. It might even have been a couple of months ago that I ordered it. And one of you in the comments told me that you'd ordered it. I think it's called Crown in a Box, a little miniature crown, which I thought might come in handy as a prop here and there. But, you know, there's a slight tacky element to it, but it is quite nice. And it's got purple royal velvet in, so that was quite fun. Also, at a vintage fair, I found these two tiaras. And unfortunately, I don't think they're going to read that well on camera. We'll see, because I will wear both of them. I was tossing around some ideas for Coronation Week, and this is when I saw these and thought they'd come in handy, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, they are handmade tiaras that are decades old. Again, I'm presuming sort of 50s, 60s, could be anything really. But they're handmade affairs. How can I describe them? They've got these lovely clear leaves on the front. I just think it's a lovely, delicate touch. And it's sort of bound with gold. And actually, even though we've been talking about the fact that we really don't want wildflower designed tiaras on the royal heads, we want the gems, don't we, and everything. Although I did read that Queen Victoria, when she married Albert, she didn't wear a gemmy tiara or anything with splendour. It was a very simple, what was it they called it? I'll flash up a picture of it or a portrait of it, but it was a very simple sort of from the meadow affair with just some sort of wildflowers growing in it. So there is a wonderful romance to that simplicity, and this put me in mind of that, so I will pop it on at one point. And it also had some sort of sister tiara with it, that was bound with a sort of silver effect to it, and all these crystals all over it, again with the sort of wildflower theme to it, and these little red currants in the centre, all these garnet shaped gemmies, which I thought added a sense of fascination. Again, I'm not sure that it will appear that fabulous on camera, but some of you will enjoy it, so that will make an appearance in future as well. Lovely, delicate, and quite royal. This is another handmade tiara, a one-off, I think, and I just absolutely loved the colours of it. I think I wore it with my red velvet jacket in a previous broadcast, and I love the royal, rich jewel colours. Reds, blues, gold yellows, and greens, you know, a primary coloured affair with very unique shaped stones and patterns and an alternating design between those sort of oblong, lozengey affairs and the star flowers. I thought it was absolutely lovely against the black band. And I've been on the lookout for some cuffs to wear with my gloves to give a bit of glimmer to the darkness. This is one I found. How much was this? £1.40 this was. I love hunting out for a bargain, my dear. £1.40. And it says gift aid on it, so it must have been from, could it have been from Oxfam? It might have been from one of the charity shops. And what I loved about this is the colour, the shade of purple. It's a very sort of smoky, dusky purple. It puts me in mind of November skies. The gems are the perfect shape for my needs, and it fits beautifully over my gloves, easy to put on as well, the sort of stretchy affair going on. I'm just absolutely in love with it. And I also found this one in a classic sort of diamond effect, so you'll see that popping up in future. And this one that I found as well was a little bit more unusual. I wish it was larger actually. I wish the stones were larger, but it has an aurora borealis effect with all those shimmering colours. Actually, it's more like an oil spill effect with purples and greens and blues and golds, lovely, surrounded by gold. Necklaces now. I don't believe you've seen this one anyway. This has a rose that put me in mind of a Tudor rose. It's not a Tudor rose, I don't think. No, might be. Gold with a clear gem in the centre amongst the petals on a very solid chain with several parts to it and some beads. And I thought that was extremely royal. That was £2.50. Another bargain, eh, my dears? And this is another reason why I love Tip Jar Corner, because I know it sounds a bit silly, but it gives life to these forgotten gems, because most of them I find in the most dusty corners of the vintage fairs, and there's not many reasons that people would buy these kind of things and give them a second life. And I get to wear them and showcase them to hundreds of thousands who enjoy them. And I know from the comments that you really enjoy seeing what I come up with the gems. That's why it brings me quite a bit of excitement. And I'm just a sucker for the feel of the dressing up box. That is what I've always loved. This necklace, quite an odd affair. Odd colours, but I couldn't resist. It'll go with something. That's why I like to pick up these random things, because you'll be surprised how many times I'm stuck for something original to wear, and I will have a certain jacket in a certain shade and earrings, blah, blah, but it just won't be finished off. And then at one point I'll think, oh, what about that odd necklace? That'll go absolutely perfectly. And you pull it out and you think, oh yes, that just finishes it off. This was £3.50. I think it was from a charity shop. And it's got smoky whites. Smoky whites, yes. Very, 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 very pale blues, you might not see. And then some darker blue tablets in some unusual abstract shapes and designs. Rather peculiar, but attractively peculiar, I find. Fabulous, huge ruby red earrings that I wore for you last week, I think it was. They are just so fun, so fun. I really want to acquire some more larger earrings. I just love them dangling about. They're fabulous. Ruby, ruby, ruby slippers. Wonderful effect here. There's something of the Eastern in their design, isn't there? Something conjures up Eastern memories. The sun on the horizon, all these beautiful ruby gemmies paired with smaller, scintillating silver stones, and two large scarlet ruby droplets in the centre at the top, with two smaller oblong stones at the bottom. And I wore these earrings in the last broadcast, and I thought they looked very fetching, actually, I've got to tell you. Browns and golds and bronzes, little droplets of all shapes and sizes, little smarties, little crumbles. I really enjoyed wearing these. A very retro vibe to them. I mean, who wears that kind of thing these days, my dear? A retro vibe, but hopefully in a contemporary setting, breathing new life. Beautiful antique brooch here. I think it was going for about £8, and I absolutely love it. Very, very dark. It might read as black on camera, but it's actually a very, very dark, deep purple. Beautifully royal design now for a flower, with very intricate, delicate gold threads weaving in and out around the trim of each petal, and another old brooch here in a lovely chartreuse green, twinned with a bright, light turquoise. Ribbons of colour on this stunning design, full of panache and flair. 3 large stones now, 3 large gemmies, beautiful, that I can use for brooches, for hairpieces, for various adornments. 2 greens, lovely green hair, beautiful emerald shade, very large stone, surrounded by all kinds of embellishments, and a lighter green. Isn't it stunning? Lots of facets. And this one is more watery in tone, maybe with hints of olive. Hard to see there, but a sort of watery green, very simple, very versatile, and surrounded by unusual claws hanging onto the edges. And this one has already made a bit of a name for itself, because that's the one I wore in the last broadcast, and it garnered a lot of comments because because it came loose from my headband. I'd adorned my headband with this, and it came loose at about 7 minutes in and it stole the show because, well, I'll replay the clip for you now and you'll see why. Well, I cannot on this occasion... Oh, my stone has fallen. I cannot on this occasion. Oh dear. I just got gems falling out of every hole. I mean, out of every... No, I digress. So it's already a mythical stone that's gone down in the legends of the river. And it's a beautiful orange. And it went so well. You see, this is what I mean when I say, you know, I was all ready to go yesterday and I had my headband on. I thought, well, just something is missing. Something is missing. So I looked through my new finds to see if there was anything there. And this popped out. And it was the beautiful, juicy tangerine colour that just added a little je ne sais quoi to the wardrobe of the day. So I always find that rather juicy and rather exciting. Thank you for romancing the stones with me, my fruits. Thank you for any Coronation Tip Jar treats that you might have sent my way. It all helps to go towards my funds, to make everything extra sparkly, and to treat me to the odd cup of coffee. But tomorrow I'm going to be quaffing a little bit of champagne in the morning, if I'm in the mood, yes. So thanks for joining me. I look forward to your company in the next broadcast after our new king is crowned. Yes, my dear. Have a lovely evening, enjoy yourselves, and toodle pip.